Without further ado, may I invite our first speaker for the day, Mr. Arthur Yuen, Deputy Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, to come on stage. Mr. Yuen, please.
Hello, everyone, and thank you to KC for inviting me to speak at today's session. I understand that today's session is the third module of the thematic program on fintech and digitalization. The first two modules covered fintech, artificial intelligence, cryptography, and cybersecurity. Certainly, those are all very interesting and highly relevant topics for the financial sector. But I'm also very glad to see that the program includes an individual module today focusing on Regtech. This highlights the importance of Regtech for the future development path of the industry. It also shows that the HKMA's continued efforts to promote Regtech are indeed paying off. Fact of the matter is, we at the HKMA have been working very, very hard to promote Regtech since 2018. I do hope that my remarks today will help set the stage for the subsequent sessions and offer an overview of this topic that would promote a better general understanding among participants of what we are pursuing in terms of Regtech in the next few years. So let me start off by addressing the what question. I'm sure most of you are already quite familiar with what Regtech stands for. But just to be sure that we are all looking at it from the same perspective, I would like to offer a definition here. So by Regtech, for which I would define as a subset of fintech use cases, I am referring to technologies that can facilitate more effective and efficient risk management and regulatory compliance by financial firms. In the past 2 years, we have actually seen a sharp rise in the popularity of Regtech in the banking sector. And that is evidenced by the fact that the total number of cases relating to Regtech in using the HKMA sandbox and chat room has actually increased 7-fold between 2018 and end March 2021. More specifically, according to our consultancy study conducted last year on this particular topic, Regtech use cases within the area of financial crime compliance and credit risk management are most mature. So for financial crime compliance, we have seen frequent Regtech application regarding customer onboarding processes, where a variety of authentication technologies such as facial recognition, liveness detection, etc., are adopted to confirm customers' identities. And for credit risk management, a popular Regtech usage involves using machine learning to estimate income levels and using optical character recognition technologies to process documents. And these technologies have enabled quicker and more accurate credit assessments during loan approval processes. So you may wonder, why are we devoting so much attention to Regtech all of a sudden? Well, in a nutshell, that is because we believe Regtech solutions can offer very clear benefits to different stakeholders within the financial ecosystem. And those benefits include, for banks, they can achieve higher quality risk management and compliance, as well as reduce costs by leveraging Regtech solutions. For customers, thanks to the convenience offered by Regtech, they would be able to enjoy better customer experience and/or financial inclusion. And for banking supervisors and regulators, simply put, if individual banks can better manage the risks and compliance activities, that will be beneficial to the effectiveness of the supervisory processes, as well as good for the wider financial system. So really the core message here that I would like to impress upon the audience is that Regtech is the way for the future when it comes to risk management and regulatory compliance. In practice, what we observe is that Regtech can be adopted in a wide range of processes. And in order to enhance the understanding of the industry of the latest trend in Regtech, the HKMA has been publishing a Regtech Watch newsletter series since 2019. Through that series, we want to share potential Regtech use cases within the Hong Kong banking industry. So let me take this opportunity to just select a couple of those examples, including a Regtech watch, for sharing with the audience here. Now, since the first two modules of this program covered artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, let me first give you an example of how Regtech can help banks combat global rise in cybercrime and cyber attacks observed particularly during the pandemic. For those of you who have attended the first two modules, I think these use cases should resonate very well. Well, I'm sure the audience are aware that cyber threats have increased in terms of numbers and sophistication in the past few years. This is evidenced by the surge in distributed denial of services, normally called DDoS attacks, ransomwares, cyber scams encountered by different sectors during the COVID-19 pandemic. The large-scale shifts to remote working and accelerated digital transformation in response to the global pandemic have provided even more entry points for cyber attacks. This, in turn, made it more challenging for banks to manage cyber risks. And indeed, this is not unique to the financial industry. Just look at what is happening to the Colonial Pipeline in the US in recent days. And imagine a major financial institution facing a similar attack. The fallout of that could be extremely difficult to manage. Now, traditionally, banks need to review and analyze a large volume of activity logs from different sources in order to detect abnormal network system and user activities. And that line of work would be based on rules derived from previously known cyber attacks. So one major limitation of that approach is related to the inability to detect emerging cyber attacks that have not been covered by the prevailing rules. Also, this approach is typically more prone to false alarms, which would then divert precious cybersecurity resources from more important tasks. And in response to these challenges, there are now innovative Regtech solutions that can help banks better detect cyber attacks. One such approach involves applying advanced artificial intelligence algorithms to continuously comprehend what normal system, network, and user activities should look like, taking into account the evolving business and system environment, and then use that as a basis to detect potentially abnormal patterns. This represents a more holistic understanding of the large system environment, which was impossible without the assistance of technology. And in achieving a more holistic views of a large system environment, it then provides banks with enhanced anomaly detection capability, even for unseen cyber attacks. These solutions may also reduce the extent of human workload required to operate the solutions. Now, in an age where attackers are becoming more innovative, smarter detection approaches are indeed becoming a more basic requirement. The second example I would like to use today is to give you an idea of how Regtech can help banks manage risks relating to trading activities. Now, we have seen rogue trading incidents causing a number of banks to suffer significant losses in the past 2 decades. In many cases, the reputation of the banks concerned was also severely tarnished. Those incidents underscore the need to put in place a robust system of control in order to prevent traders from conducting unauthorized transactions. Now, I would say that banks generally have established a front-to-back control framework for managing rogue trading risks, but the need to identify suspicious transactions in a timely manner, together with the ensuing investigations, often require a considerable amount of resources. In particular, the processes would need data inputs from multiple parties and systems in order to facilitate a holistic assessment. And collating and analyzing a range of different data through conventional means can be extremely time-consuming or otherwise ineffective in identifying anomalies. Now, similar to the last example I used, some Regtech solutions will now make use of advanced artificial intelligence algorithms to help alert the control functions of potential suspicious trading activities more effectively and at an earlier stage. Those solutions will extract and pool data from various systems and databases, such as trading platforms, trade booking systems, risk management systems, and accounting systems to build an inclusive data model. While the aggregate volume of those data is huge and the nature differs substantially, these solutions enable users to examine the data simultaneously and comprehensively so that the system can discover trends, patterns, and correlation using the advanced algorithms. For instance, user can combine and scrutinize deal amendments and cancellation records, traders' communication records, and valuation data together to pick up any questionable trading patterns and attempts to hide trading losses, P&L volatilities, highly speculative positions, off-market rate transactions, as well as delayed or even missing deal inputs. Users can also compare and look into different traders' activities jointly in order to identify any collusions among them. Although banks may perform these analyses in a traditional way, big data analytics and artificial intelligence can greatly enhance banks' capabilities by, for example, reducing the amount of false positives that are typical under traditional methodologies. Now, the two examples that I mentioned above are only among the many use cases that we have shared in our Regtech Watch newsletter series. If you are interested to learn more about that, please do visit our website to look at the full publications. Now that we have addressed the questions of what and why, let me talk a little bit about how we're doing this. First, I would like to emphasize that Regtech is not new endeavor for the HKMA. We have actually made significant efforts over the past few years to promote Regtech as part of our Banking Made Easy initiatives. According to our consultancy study conducted last year, 1/3 of the banks in Hong Kong have already implemented at least one Regtech solutions. And a further 1/3 of the banks are in the process of vendor selections or proof of concept developments for Regtech usages. So given the benefits of Regtech can offer, we as a banking supervisor can clearly do more to promote as well as widen the scope and breadth of Regtech adoption in Hong Kong. And in order to effectively pursue that objective, we know that we need a more structured approach. As a result, we have formulated a very clear vision for where we want Hong Kong to be with respect to Regtech in the next few years. Some of you may have heard about this vision, which is named Regtech 2025. Specifically, by 2025, our prime target is that Hong Kong will have achieved the following 4 key goals that you can see on the slide. First, we want to lead by becoming one of the global leaders in Regtech. Secondly, we want to adopt, and the Hong Kong banking sector should have extensively adopted Regtech solutions by then. Thirdly, we want to grow, and by that we mean Hong Kong should become a breeding ground for growing Regtech solutions, not just for banks, but for other financial institutions as well. And finally, we want to nurture, through which we would aim at turning Hong Kong into a hub for nurturing Regtech talents. In order to achieve this Regtech 2025 vision, the HKMA has developed and announced a 2-year roadmap. We announced that roadmap during the FinTech Week held in November last year, and the roadmap outlines a series of events and activities to further develop a more vibrant Regtech ecosystem in Hong Kong. These events and activities were formulated in response to the 16 recommendations derived from our consultancy study on Regtech, and which in turn cover 5 core areas as shown in this slide. So we want to do 5 things. We want to emphasize that minds matter, meaning that we want to focus on raising the awareness for Regtech. According to the consultancy study that I referred to, this awareness is still lacking amongst banks, and especially amongst senior management. This undoubtedly has an impact on organizational buy-ins and the amount of resources that are being deployed to exploring Regtech solutions. So in order to reach out to and inform more stakeholders about Regtech, we are hosting a flagship Regtech event next month, which I understand have already attracted very significant sign-up numbers. In addition, in the second half of the year, we will issue the Regtech Adoption Practice Guide series to help the industry better understand how Regtech can be applied. We will also establish a Regtech Knowledge Hub in order to facilitate information sharing on Regtech experience and potential usages. We also want to emphasize that solutions matter. And by that, we will focus on innovation and developing solutions that are tailored to the Hong Kong banking industry. Riding on our belief that competition is a key catalyst for innovation, we launched a global Regtech challenge in March this year that enhanced the interactions and communications between banks in Hong Kong and the global Regtech firms. The third element is that we want to emphasize that momentum matters. And by that, we want to sustain industry engagement and interest in Regtech. Similar to awareness, without the industry's continued support, all our earlier efforts will not be adequate in bringing out the full potential of Regtech. Therefore, to provide a more concrete and visual reminder of what we have achieved, we are developing a Regtech Adoption Index to quantify and monitor the overall status of Regtech adoption in the banking industry. And we aim to launch this index very soon. The fourth element is that we want to emphasize talent matters. And by that, I mean we will focus on resolving the talent shortage that will be holding us back in this Regtech journey. As a first step, in our bid to become a hub for nurturing and exporting global Regtech talents, we are developing a Regtech skills framework and identifying the current skill gaps in Hong Kong. We are also working with the banking industry and relevant professional bodies to develop an enhanced competency framework covering both FinTech and Regtech, with a view to aiding the professional development of new and existing banking practitioners. And finally, we also want to emphasize that regulators matter. And through that, we will focus on demonstrating the HKMA's commitment to Regtech and doing our bit to smoothen out the regulatory side of things for banks that operate in multiple jurisdictions in particular. Besides continuing to offer regulatory guidance in the form of circulars and guidelines, we will also reach out to other regulators to engage in active and ongoing dialogue about Regtech. While we do not think that it would be possible to completely align or reach harmonization on cross-border Regtech regulations, more candid and honest discussions among regulators would definitely contribute towards a more friendly landscape for international banks in adopting Regtech solutions. I do hope very much that my sharing above will stimulate further interest in Regtech, and I would like to take this opportunity to encourage all of you to take part in our flagship Regtech event, titled Unlocking the Power of Regtech, which will be held on the 30th of June. We have invited global leaders from the banking and technology sectors to join the event and share their insights and experience on Regtech adoption and its associated benefits. Now, places are limited, so if you haven't yet signed up for this, I would strongly recommend that you do so immediately after this session. I would like to conclude by stressing that your support is crucial to a vibrant Regtech ecosystem. As a leader in the financial industry, I hope you can help advocate for Regtech within your respective institutions and participate actively in our activities going forward so that we can all work together to develop a more thriving Regtech ecosystem in Hong Kong. Thank you once again for having this opportunity to talk to the audience. And I will now pass the floor to Professor Anna, Professor Yu, and Irene to share the insights on Regtech from the perspectives. Thank you very much.